Hey y'all, welcome to Sex Ed for You, the podcast where research meets reality.
I am Lauren, a Certified Holistic Sexuality Educator.
And I'm Holland, and I have a Bachelor of Science in Public Health.
Sex Ed for You's podcast is for people who want to date and have great sex that is fun and safe and enjoyable. We like to empower our listeners to make informed decisions that lead to values-based living.
Hello.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Or New Year's, or whenever you're listening to this. We are pre-recording these for the holiday times.
Because I'm going home, baby.
Going back to Texas.
Next week. Literally a week from today.
So happy holidays to all of you who are also with family.
Yeah.
We see you, we love you. If you are sneaking to listen to this podcast, or if you've popped it in your ears while your family is around you, we support you.
We see you.
So we kind of thought that we could talk about that and sex over Christmas holidays with families and just kind of all of the dynamics. We've already talked about the stressful part, so we'll try to keep this a little bit more lighthearted.
Yeah.
But it can be tough. It can be tough to take a partner back to Christmas. It can be really stressful on partner dynamics. It can be really stressful just solo.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we should also talk about masturbation. One of my friends has a hilarious stories of leaving her vibrator at home for Christmas and her dad having to mail it to her because it was an expensive one.
Oh God.
And she had to say Dad, I need you to do something for me. Yeah. So first of all, good morning everybody, or evening, or whenever you're listening. But yeah, let's talk. This is fun. Okay, I like this subject.
Yeah. I think there's such not a stereotype, but almost like a Hallmark movie type of going home for Christmas and your high school exes are there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone who you've ever dated that's in your hometown is there. So there's that pressure of am I going to see them? Am I going to fuck them? What am I going to do when I go back home? And then there's the added layer of if you bring someone back,
yeah,
not only are they meeting your family, if you're walking around downtown and you see an ex, there's this just whole weird dynamic going here. You've lived in the same town your whole life.
I was sitting here thinking so funny for me, because when you live, and shout out to anyone else who's like me, who literally lives in the town they were born in, because it's your life is on public display. Everybody knows every ex you've had, right? So the gossip here in my town is when, my ex-husband and I and my current husband and my kid are all in a coffee shop together. Everybody's psst, psst. You can literally see it. You can see people pick up their phones to text someone to say, you'll never believe who all is in this room.
Oh my God.
So I get to live that out just on the reg.
That sounds terrible.
It's really, I've even read some research about we should get to go away.
Yeah.
That the kind of, we should get to go into our chrysalis and then come out as a butterfly many times in our lives. And I don't recommend, honestly.
Staying in the same
listen, everybody here is beautiful and wonderful and I love them. But wow, it is tough to reinvent yourself.
Yeah.
When you're with the same people.
Close quarters. Mm-hmm. I would feel the same way being back home. I did feel the same way. That's why I moved.
That's why you moved.
That's why I moved across the country.
You up and moved. Yeah, so let's talk about, right before we popped on, I was saying that a lot of clients have recently told me stories about going home, and it's probably because holiday times is coming, and how they love to have sneaky sex while they're in their partner's childhood bedroom, right? While the family's out. Mm-hmm. And then I also have just as many clients who tell me, ooh, gross, never, I would be too horrified, I would be too embarrassed. So we'll make a poll. But I want everybody to think about, whoever's listening, which camp do you fall in?
Yeah. Which camp do you fall in?
Oh, totally the sneaky one.
Same.
Oh my God. It's one of the hottest things in the world.
Yeah.
I think it makes me more horny. 100%. Give me the stressful situations.
There was literally a time, this is not holiday related, but there was literally a time in high school where my boyfriend and I built a fort in my living room, my parents' living room, and I literally gave him head in the living room.
This is amazing.
It's not my proudest moment, but it did happen.
Okay, well, this is me you're talking to. So I have also, it might have been Christmas Eve, but yeah, one of my casual friends with benefits, there was party thing going on, and we were in his like apartment, but there were like multiple people lived there. But he had to like turn in on the computer. He needed to do something on the computer.
So you went with him.
So I was just like, I'm gonna go check on so and so, and then totally like ends up just Jansing, gave him a blowjob while he was doing the thing.
Oh my God, yes. And I dated a gamer, and I used to give him head while he was doing like his games, and that would be so funny because he's like on headset with his friends, and I'd be like, he, you can't make noise. I love doing shit like that.
I do too.
And I'm notorious tease, but like going to my parents' house for dinner or whatever, like I'm always just touching all up on them, like, haha, you're hard now. I'm hot. I'm like horny, but nobody can tell.
Right. Listen, people with vulvas, we have it hard enough in the world.
Yeah.
I always like to say it's like the one wonderful thing
Yeah.
that no one can tell.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe like our nipples getting hard, but our nipples would also get hard if like the wind blew too cold.
Yeah,
and I'm not exactly
usually wearing
horny.
a bra.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So it's like, this is my one thing.
One thing I get to have, and I'm going to make you very hard now.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember. This is funny for everybody. So a little bit of backstory. My ex-husband is now happily gay, but he really, truly, and there's research to support this, did not know that he was gay.
Yeah.
Like he had repressed it, right? So there were seasons when we had fine sex. And I do remember going home to his place, his whole family lives on one big expansive piece of property. It was originally a dairy farm. It's 400 acres, but like there were 3 kids born to the parents, and every one of those 3 kids got married, built a house on the property. Then all of their kids also have houses on the property.
Sweet
so
baby Jesus.
My ex-husband was the only one who didn't live on the property.
Honestly, lucky you for not having to live
That
there.
would have been very scary. But we would go home for holidays and stuff like that. And I still remember, like getting so horny at the thought of, we could have sex in this bedroom. And sometimes we did. But he obviously was gay, but also the anxiety it was not fun for him.
Yeah.
Not at all. Why do you, in your own body, why is it exciting for you? Talk about all the things. It doesn't need to be research-based.
Ooh, I think for me, it's because there's a lot of pressure around like fully going to sex. Like for me, penetrative intercourse feels like there's a barrier breakthrough there. Like all the things before are not as much stressful for me. And I really enjoy those things. And so when you're in a scenario where people may walk into you, the likelihood that you're actually going to have penetrative intercourse is a lot smaller. So I feel like there's so much less stress because I'm like, oh, you can't push me to have penetrative intercourse. We can just do like the fun stuff. So it's just like that pressure is relieved for one. And then also, I don't know, it like heightens all your senses. The adrenaline's going, which is definitely the sciencey side of it. But it's just fun. Yeah. It's just like, I don't know. I think it's how you use and how you treat your adrenaline, honestly.
Is it any of the violating prohibitions, like doing naughty stuff? Or is that not so much for you? This is why it's so fun.
Maybe?
People, ask your friends. This is so fun.
I don't know. I don't think so. Because breaking rules for me, I'm so like a projector type 4 person. Because breaking rules for me, I follow rules to the T if they make sense to me. If a rule does not make sense to me, then I regard it as not existing. So it's like I am a rule follower unless it's illogical.
You and my husband. And it's like, it literally is no longer a rule.
Yeah. It's
and I'm like but somebody else says it's a rule. And
No, it's not. It's no longer a rule because it's dumb. It's just completely null and void.
So for the excitement for you is what? Like, why is it exciting? This is so fun to hear inside of other people's
Because
heads.
it's just...
Because there's a barrier?
Because there's a barrier. Because... I kind of like the idea of being caught, I guess.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is so lovely and kinky.
Yeah.
Right? Like, a client said this week, like, anything can be kinky. And I was like, yeah, anything can be kinky. And she was like, anything can be kinky.
What a fun revelation.
It was the best.
God, I love kink.
Right? Like that, in our minds, especially for those who have, grew up sheltered or were like, oh, I'm not that.
Yeah.
Right? We see kink as like the extremist stuff, and shame on porn for like, making us think that everything's got to be extremism all the time. That's not necessarily the case. It really isn't. Yeah. If you like, fooling around with your husband of 20 years in your childhood bedroom, then like, yeah, you a little kinky.
Do it.
Do it. Yeah, maybe you would get caught. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
For me, I think it totally is the naughtiness factor.
Really?
100%. Yeah, I totally wouldn't mind getting caught either. I'd be like, oh, me?
Me?
But then I so agree with you of there's this deliciousness found, especially for people with clitorises, in we probably aren't going to do penetration. Like, but see, even for me, like if I had a skirt on that could somehow cover my whole lap and I could straddle someone, that's also so hot.
I'll go there.
That's
for sure.
in fantasies of mine forever and ever. Amen.
Yeah.
And y'all, okay, while we're on this train, this Christmas Polar Express, I so encourage you as you're listening to this episode in your family home to be thinking about what parts of this are hot for you, because they can become pieces of fantasy and can help you know what types of erotic literature or audio erotica you could be into. If some of these things that Holland and I are saying, you're like, ooh, yeah, that's hot to me too. Hold on to that. Like, hold on to that piece, because that's a piece of your core erotic theme that you might not have known.
Yeah.
And so many people are like, say to me, oh, I don't fantasize. And I'm like, yes, you do.
Yeah.
You just haven't thought about what it is that turns you on. So for me, that whole kind of like, hidden, like I'm doing something but other people don't know, super hot for me.
Same.
Super hot for me. Trying to think of other stories. Oh God, yeah. Once, right after my ex-husband and I were married, this is all so sad. This is all so good. My mom had just died. Okay, so the reason my ex-husband and I even got married when we did is that my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. I promise to keep this light, everybody. My story is just kind of weirdly sad. And so we got married, she died, then we all went on this family vacation. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, to the beach that we had always gone to as a family, like literally months later. And so ex-husband and I are newly married. We had a bedroom with 2 twin beds, like at the front of this house.
Push them together?
I don't even know what we did. But anyway, we were constantly trying to find times to be alone together because we were newly married. But anyway, I do remember us having sex on the floor in that bedroom while my little siblings, because my youngest sibling is 11 years younger than me, were looking for us and was like, have you seen Lauren and so? Like, have you seen them? And like knocking on the door, and we're like pretending not to be in there. For me, it's exciting. Again, for him, it never was. Like, it was just too stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a research principle that I can't remember right now that talks about anxiety in the body.
Yeah.
And so anxiety is 100% an aphrodisiac until it's not.
Yeah. like the tipping point.
What would be your tipping point? Like, what would be, no, that's no longer arousing for me?
God, it just depends on the situation, I guess. But I think it would be, I don't even know. Give me an example. Like, what's yours?
I don't mind. Obviously, I'm a parent. So obviously I have sex in my house when my kid is home. But if my kid hurt themselves, if there was pain somewhere else in the house, if she was crying, if I heard a crash, if something broke, if I could smell fire, all of these things would take me from fun anxiety to not fun anxiety. Time boundness is also like an aphrodisiac. I love a quickie, but like if I had a client at a certain time, and I know you say I like to bend time and stuff, but I don't, like if I had a client who I had to hop on Zoom with at a certain time and like it was getting closer and closer, like that time boundness goes from exciting and arousing to like, no, like this is not going to happen. Like I'm now too stressed thinking about what time it is, and I'm not going to be late for a client because I was having sex.
Yeah, my neurospiciness will not allow me to do anything within time bound.
See,
Time bound stresses me the fuck out. Like I need I was about to say an hour, but honestly, I think more than that because it just stresses me out. I'm like, then I have to make sure I look good. Then I have to go. And when I have meetings on my computer, I'm sitting in front of my computer 30 minutes before then. It stresses me out to not be there 30 minutes in advance. Because time is not the same to people with like neurospiciness. It's completely different. Just the way our brains even process it. And so for me, if I'm not 30 minutes early, I'm going to be late. And so that it just stresses me out. I just can't do it.
We're Holland last week. We were in here doing all our recordings, and I had a client, and she's like just sitting there like rocking. She's so respectful. I was like stressing your nervous system out.
I'm never gonna know.
I still made it totally on time for the client. It was fine. I just had to walk to the other room, but still, she was so stressed. Oh God, I was just gonna think of something. Okay, let's talk about this then. Maybe there is no tipping point when it comes to. Okay, well, I mean, if your parent was standing in the room, like would that be a tipping point? Good.
No.
There you go.
I was notorious, dear God, Mom, don't watch this. I was notorious for a little under the blanket action, for sure.
Yeah.
Like on the couch watching a movie. So yeah, that doesn't really stress me out. That's really fun to me.
Y'all, if you're traveling with a partner, ask them these questions. It's so fun to see what's a turn on and what's a turn off. And you know, a phrase we use in the sex world all the time is don't yuck somebody else's yum.
Yeah.
Right? So just because that's a real turn on to Holland and might not be a turn on to you, it's never nice to like be like, ew, gross, you're so gross. No, that usually comes from conditioning or this, that, or the other thing. Again, when somebody is trusting you enough to share something that really sexually excites them, that's vulnerable. It's inherently vulnerable. And so to shoot it down with a yuck face, which is totally developmentally normal for when you're like a teenager, for us to be like, ew, gross. No, try not to do it as an adult. Yeah. Be like, wow, a wow is good. Yeah. If that's not something I would never, like that would make me feel uncomfortable. Sure, that's totally fun to share.
Like a wow or a I've never thought of that. That doesn't come to my mind. But like, don't just be mean about it.
No.
Unnecessary.
Yeah, and then I also thought it would be really fun to talk about with your partner how far you'd want to go, right? So some people are like, no, I wouldn't want to do penetrative intercourse because that would be scary and exposing.
Yeah.
But I would do fill in the blank, right? Which could be, you know I was going to say it. Titillating. Ding, ding, ding. For another sexual encounter in which you both feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it would just be fun to have a conversation of like, okay, well, what about if we touch each other and like fondle each other? Do you feel comfortable with this, that? Like taking time to explore these different things would be really fun. Like, go ahead.
I was going to say, because even if you aren't into like actually doing anything, it can be really fun to just tease. Like have a really like, there's a difference between like slapping an ass and like really grabbing their ass in the kitchen. You know, like do something like that when nobody's around and then later the sex will be really good. So there are different boundaries that I think couples can go to.
Oh, I think it's genius that you just mentioned that because I wanted to circle back to what you said of the fun part is knowing that like there's not going to be penetration.
Yeah.
And I talk with a ton of my clients, especially with vaginismus or fear of penetration, about all the good parts, right?
Yeah.
So having a conversation with your partner about what are the fooling around things that we want to do, what displays of affection in public in front of my family that are totally naughty, can we do without the expectation that you're going to be demanding penetration later, right? We still have this concept and this culture of like being a cock tease or being a blue baller. Have these conversations like, hey, can we, touch each other under the table, knowing that this is turning us both on without me feeling guilty later that I didn't give you sex.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, whenever we've spoken about this with clients too, about removing the expectations often makes you more excited to actually do it. I think the likelihood of having penetrative intercourse for me just skyrockets when the expectation of penetrative intercourse is removed from the situation. When I am given permission to enjoy what I want for what it is, that is when I actually want penetrative intercourse. The expectation of it is what stresses me out.
Somebody said, a client this week said, I love this podcast because I'm getting to see how brilliant Holland is.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Welcome, world. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. So I heard it said that when an invitation to sex becomes an obligation for sex, it turns anyone off, right? Like I'm obligated to have sex with this person because I touched them under the Christmas dinner table.
Yeah.
Ugh. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm inviting them to have sex with me later because I was so turned on by this.
Yeah.
Super hot. But yes, talking about removing expectations, so great. So great.
Yeah. I'm not signing a paper whenever I start touching you. Like, I'm not saying this must happen later. I want to touch because it's fun to be touched and to touch. I want to tease because it's fun. I don't want to do it because there's like a goal at the end of it. I'm not very goal oriented when it comes to sex.
And the journey can be so much of the fun, right? Like so much of the fun. We could save this for the next episode, but we could kind of tease it out here. I wanted to talk about mutual masturbation, like the concept of this. And I was just thinking, though, so maybe we can expound on it in the next episode. But I was thinking that a really good way to satisfy like a desire for an orgasm from two bodies that have been flirting all day at their family home would be to mutually masturbate. Like, yes, you are maybe sharing a bed, but maybe it is really squeaky and maybe your teenage brother is in the other room and you don't want to do that. Making eye contact with your partner or not and being close and snuggled up and having just had that inappropriate moment, but touching your own body and having the sexual agency to do that with somebody is really exhilarating.
It is.
Like really exhilarating and can be much quieter.
Yeah.
And we all have, maybe we really will talk about masturbation and mutual masturbation on the next episode.
Now I'm excited.
Okay. We all have, most of us taught ourselves to masturbate in a secret and like must be fast, must be quiet way. And so, way to pull upon your archival techniques of how to come quietly and silently and doing it beside your partner. There should never be any shame in that.
No.
Like never. Yeah. Any other like Christmas holiday tidbits?
No.
Yeah, we have like a couple more minutes or we could just make this one a short one.
No, it's okay. I don't know.
I know. Like.
What else do we have about the holiday tidbitties?
The holiday tidbits.
Tiddo bitties. Is that like a phrase you've ever heard used? Tiggo bitties? That is a big ass thing where I come from.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's like big old titties, right?
Yeah,
but like
Tiggo bitties.
No,
so
I don't. Funnier. I don't think anybody says that here in Virginia.
Is it just my family, maybe?
Maybe.
I don't know. That's like such a colloquialism in my brain. Like it just stays there. It lives at the forefront of my mind.
Okay, we can also ask people if they've heard that. It's so funny the amount of things people bring up to me that they've heard, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Tiggo bitties.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. Let's keep it short and sweet for the holidays. Everybody, I hope you're surviving.
Yeah. Thriving. Maybe.
Oh, let's do this. Let's close out with like some tools to come back into your body.
Yeah.
When you're with family.
Yeah.
That are not sexual. I mean, they could be sexual. Yeah. Masturbate in the shower, y'all. It's a wonderful idea.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's just let's popcorn it. Let's go back and forth. I'll think of something. You think of something. Yeah.
I would say alone time for sure. Going in your room, listening to music, doing whatever it is, your silence, stillness, solitude to just get that recharge moment for yourself.
Yes. I'd say movement, walks. So many of us have like a nice little exercise schedule at home and then we go to spend time with family and then we're like, what's wrong with me? And it's because we haven't moved our bodies in days.
Yep.
So whether or not you ask a family member to join you on a walk or whether you do one on your own, get your blood flowing. There's so much research that helps complete the stress response cycle.
Yep.
So get out and move.
Yeah, you can also, if you're out of town in a place where you don't have a gym membership, most places will offer week-long memberships. They're usually around like $10-15. So feel free to go get one of those. Especially like Planet Fitness's, Crunch Fitness. They always have like week-long memberships. I think what you kind of said a couple weeks ago about having copper or a rock or something pokey to hold on to really ground yourself. And in that same vein, grounding in the mornings. I like to go outside, no shoes, stand in the grass, and just kind of like connect with the earth for a minute. Feels nice.
Yep. I was just thinking kind of while you were saying that, this is so fun to popcorn with you. I'm holding some water in my hands. Sometimes we don't eat or drink what we normally do on vacations too. Or we're having more like alcohol and fun beverages with family. So yeah, make sure you're getting water. I know it's simple, but I so quickly forget to. And then I'm like, why am I like so dehydrated and exhausted? Oh, because I haven't drunk water. So drink your water, babies.
Yep. For the people who are like me and might have a little bit of anxiety and use weed, maybe bring a couple edibles. Maybe just have those in your back pocket for the days that are way too much and you just need to shut your brain off. That can also be CBD for people who don't partake, or I don't know.
There's so many homeopathics. I was going to say, too. Go to your local health food store or to your Whole Foods or whatever if you have that in your neighborhood. And there's, these little lovely homeopathic pellets that you can get and ask somebody about them. Even, I swear sometimes the placebo of thinking I'm taking something calming, is wonderful.
It is.
Or grab some tea. And make it in the evenings. I love when I'm part of a big family, when I see another one of my siblings like sharing with us something they're doing. Like they're like, hey, I'm going to make tea. It's this thing I'm starting to do. Would anybody else like any? You can bring people in. I think one of the hard things about going home is that people know the old versions of us. We've talked about this before. And that can be painful. Introduce them to the new one. Like just introduce them to the new one. Don't waste your time. It's silliness.
It is.
Silliness.
Reminding yourself of the silliness, I think, is really important.
Ooh, journaling. Yeah. Coming back to yourself, or voice memoing, on that walk that you take. If journaling feels like too much of a lift, send a voice memo, text a friend, voice chat a friend.
See if you're in your hometown, maybe reach out to old friends if you feel comfortable with them. I wouldn't necessarily put the pressure on you to reach out to people who are not in the same vein of growth that you are.
Yeah, Helen's already done that with a couple people, kind of strategically place some things, people that she's going to see. And I just think that's kind of brilliant because it gives you something to look forward to.
Yeah.
In the crazy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yay, y'all. Have a wonderful Christmas time. Thank you for listening to this episode of Sex Ed for You, where research meets reality. Remember that these are just our opinions, nothing too fancy. We encourage you to do research. We encourage you to disagree with us. Always feel free to reach out and ask us where our research comes from or share more up-to-date research. It's always so fun. You have a right to self-determination, and this is, yes, our opinions and the things we have studied, but feel free to take what you like and leave the rest. If you're excited about this new year, about 2024, and you want to get into some individual sexuality education of your own, reach out to us. Go to sexedforyou.com/free consult. Follow us on Instagram, sex_ed_for_you. We have a monthly membership program if you're not interested in committing full force to individual sex ed, and that's Hemlock. You can find that on our website too.
Yep. And we also have journal prompts for download. That would be a great Christmas present for yourself or for others. It's, a whole journey of self-discovery and introspective thoughts. It's really beautiful. They're January to December, but you can start anytime.
You really could. They're awesome. I know I wrote them. That sounds really crazy, but it was really fun to read them back and go, oh my goodness, I would benefit from these in the year 2024. So hope you do. And share them or buy one for yourself.
And they're on sale right now, $25, and they'll be $35 after Christmas. So now is the best time to get them.
Get them. Bye, everybody.
Bye.